seen us working on the 34 Ford Street Beast Coupe. You've seen everything that we've done. Now it's time to get it running. So the owner has installed his own motor and transmission. And what we got here, we got a 350, okay, with a 700 R4 overdrive transmission. Now, that's the basic common drivetrain that most people use in them, is the overdrive transmission, okay? That's the most popular transmission that you can use. Now, that transmission has a manual lockup inside it. They took the electronic shift out, so it manually locks up. That's the best way to do it. If you go to the tranny shop, you tell them you have a 700 R4, and what they'll do is they'll install the manual lockup kit in it, and it'll do away with all the electronics. And it'll shift into overdrive automatically. So, what we got to do is for overheating. So instead of running the transmission lines like the owner was going to do right here to the radiator, what we're going to do is we're going to install a separate transmission cooler. Now the ones that I use, and these are the best ones you can buy, okay, it's the aluminum cylinder finned, okay, dual pass transmission cooler. On the coupe here with the 350 engine, this is more than equivalent for that transmission cooler to cool the transmission down. Okay, and where we install that is down on the frame rail there. What you're going to need to install this transmission cooler, you're going to need two adapters. That's 1/8 inch nipple to 5/16. Okay, those screw right in the end just like that, as you can see. And always use your thread sealant before you put these on. We don't want any leaks. So you go ahead and install. So you get your fittings in there. Now on the line itself, we're using a 5/16 hydraulic line. And that's going to be a flexible line, so we'll be able to run it around the frame and where we need to go. And the fittings that you can get this at Napa Auto Parts, okay? They do all this right there. And we're going to have two 45 fittings, and we're going to have two straights. Now,
is that just from previous builds to know the proper bends?
Right. I've done this for a long time, so this is the way I do it to all Street Beast cars. I've never had a problem. It actually drops the temperature of your radiator down by 10 to 15 degrees.
Wow.
Just using this cooler. Okay, you can use any transmission cooler you want. This is what I use. This is what I recommend. Okay, so as you can see, just to visualize, this is a flared fitting just like your brakes, so it'll be an airtight fitting. Okay, and you have to buy the adapter fittings to make this work. Now this is also the size fitting, which is 5/16 flare, that fits inside the all General Motors transmissions. And the 45s will come down off the transmission. So what you want to do is get your transmission cooler installed, which I'm going to show you how to do here in a second. And then run your lines. Once you get the line once you get the line pressed in, and that presses in very hard, so make sure it goes all the way up to the end, you want to tape that on there so it doesn't come off. Because you'll have to take this back to the auto parts store or, you know, the pipe fitting or wherever you bought your parts to have them crimp that back together. So if you come down here, I'm going to show you where we install the transmission cooler on our car, because we want a nice close fit, see? And what I do is I put them, if you look right here, okay, in between the frame rails here, underneath the floor, you'll see there's a nice ample space on the frame. So I mount that transmission cooler on the outside of the frame, just like that, as far back as I can get it. That way I'm going to have enough clearance to either run my lines up through here and come back around, or I can go down through the bottom and around. So we'll mount the cooler here, and then as you look up inside here, you'll see where the transmission lines the owner put on here. We will be taking those off. I was telling you to use thread sealant. I use the liquid style. You can also buy that in a roll, okay, pipe thread tape. And what you want to do is make sure you get it on there, but do not get any on the opening hole, because it's still going to be a while before tranny fluid flows through there. We don't want this to clog up our tranny. we get that on there just like that. And what that's going to do, that's going to give us a nice seal on our fittings.
Do we need to worry about an inlet or an outlet on the tranny cooler?
No. You can put them on either or, it doesn't matter. It's just a passing. It's just a dual pass, which is better than a single pass. A dual pass has fittings on both ends. A single pass cooler would have one fitting here and one there. So this is actually doing double of what a single pass cooler does. That's why the size is just right for your Street Beast car. Now, if you are using a big block in your car, you need to go to a bigger cooler because that big block engine is going to run hotter. Okay, so what we do is we go ahead and get those nice and snug on there. And we'll go ahead, once we mount it, we'll go ahead and tighten that up a little bit more to make sure that they're tight. Then what you want to do is you want to get 4 self-tapping screws. Okay? These are 3/8 head. Okay? They're self-tapping. And what we're going to do is we're going to screw that to the frame. That's more than enough to hold that to the frame, believe me. You do not have to drill that out and put nuts and bolts in it for a transmission. We'll our lines up, and we'll take it over to, we'll take the tranny lines off, take them over and get them crimped, bring them back and hook it all up. Okay, what we got here, Jeff was kind enough to make our tranny lines. As you see, they're all mocked up and they're ready to go. Get crimped together. We're going to go over to the hose company and get that done. We also went ahead and did the our Street Beast Vicky while we were at it, so that way we knock them both out. They're both exactly, coolers all mount on the Street Beast vehicle the same way on all of them. So the way that we just showed you to do it, where you mount the transmission cooler right under the running board here in the center, okay? You run your lines through the frame, come over to your transmission, okay? And you'll see your fittings, run your lines up there, mock them up, and then take them over and get them crimped. Make sure when you do that, that you leave enough flex in there for the movement of the transmission and the motor, okay, when you're putting a little torque on the engine, and you don't want those lines to break. This is the best way to do it. They're flexible lines, they're easy removal, and it cools your transmission down just great. It's compact and easy, and that's how you install the transmission cooler on your Street Beast car. Don't miss our next video on wiring it up. We're going to go ahead and show you how and where to mount the wire harness in the vehicle. And we're going to start running our wires to get this coupe running. So let's get that transmission cooler hooked up 100% and move on to the next step. My name's Pete, southwestrodcustom.com, or you can call me at 972-420-1293. If you own a Street Beast car, you need any...